Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. Today, we're talking all about words, language, and how this can impact positively or negatively your healing and your life. So, we need to be mindful of the language that we use, both internally in our head, this inner monologue, but also what we speak out loud, because words are powerful and they can really be like spells. If you're a client of mine, you'll probably be annoyed with me at this point because I like to pick up on messages through email or when we're on client calls, anything that isn't empowering and supportive. They probably hate it, but I don't care because I know the importance of this. Words can shape your emotional state. So when we think of words like fear or anger or hatred, those have a different frequency than words like hope and positivity and love and happiness. So the words that you use influence your emotions, then your emotions influence your behavior and actions. Your actions and behaviors become habits over time, and that literally is how your life is formed, how your reality is formed. The words that we use also have an effect on our subconscious mind and what we repeat constantly. And it doesn't matter if it's internal or out loud, it's the same thing. Over time, those things can become a belief. So if you're always telling yourself, you're so stupid, you're so ugly, or you heard that a lot as a child, that becomes a belief. And then anyone who tells you differently, you don't believe them because you have this limiting belief that's stubborn and has had so much evidence and so much strengthening this pathway in the brain because of how many times you've repeated this that it just becomes the default. But we can thankfully shift that. There is a thing called neuroplasticity, and it means that we can change our brain and create new neural pathways to more favorable pathways that support our healing. So the words that we use can change our life for the better. So this is what we're going to be talking about today, how to ignite change, inspire action, and improve the quality of our life. There's a quote that I saw online from Dr. Andrew Newberg, and he has a book called Words Can Change Your Brain, which is on my reading list. I haven't yet read it, but he said, without language, we find ourselves living in a state of emotional chaos. Our brain has given us the potential to communicate in extraordinary ways, and the way that we choose to do so can improve the neural functioning of the brain. In fact, a single word has the power to influence the expression of genes that regulate physical and emotional stress. If we do not continually exercise the brain's language sensors, we cripple our neurological ability to deal with the problems we encounter with each other. So I first learned about what Tony Robbins calls transformational language or transformational vocabulary when I read one of his books. I'm pretty sure it was Awaken the Giant Within. I read this when I was probably 16 to 20-ish. It was one of the first personal development books that I read, and I have no idea what picked it up. I think I just saw this big guy on the cover and it just lured me in, and I was like, this guy seems like he knows what he's talking about. And I got into the personal development world then, lost it for a few years when I was focused more on health and nutrition, and then really got back into it again over the past few years. But in that book, he did a whole chapter and section on this. It really made me aware that the effects that words can have on our physiology. And he made some funny swaps, and he pointed out how we would say things like, I'm dying of hunger, when we've literally just eaten a full meal two hours ago. And this just puts the body in more of a stress state because if your body thinks it's dying because you're telling it that, it's going to become in this sympathetic nervous system state, and a lot of functions like hormone production and detox get shut down. And then he even says like for anger, people often say my blood is boiling, I'm furious. And he gives them swaps, and he says to make it a little bit funny because that can trick the brain a little bit and shock it, and it makes it easier to change it. So he would say things like I'm a bit miffed or I'm a bit peeved instead. So it's just really understanding that these little things that we say, we might just say it as default, and some of them are just what we say in society. Or your family might use common patterns that you've just picked up on and you've never fully acknowledged what you're saying, but I want you to start to pay attention to it. So there's a transformational vocabulary chart online, and you can look at this graph, and it's kind of split into three sections. So the first section is the negative way of saying something. So it could be, I can't do this, my back hurts, I get migraines, this is hard, I'm sick, I'm exhausted. If you keep telling yourself those things every day, that becomes your reality. A positive version of all of those things could be, I'm learning to do this, my back is healing, I'm learning to give my head more comfort, or my head is healing as well. I'm finding easier ways to do this instead of this is hard. I'm healing. I would like to feel more energized instead of I'm tired. And these are all focused more on possibility and what you do want rather than what you don't want. So this ties into the universal laws, the law of attraction, the law of vibration as well. It's really interesting. I just want to take a quick pause to ask you a really important question. Where do you want your health to be in 6 months' time? More energized, feeling comfortable in your skin and body again, excited for life because you're finally starting to see improvements with your health, or frustrated and depressed because you're still struggling with symptoms, which are taking over your life and stopping you from living life to the full. If you want the first option, you're going to have to do something different. After all, the definition of insanity is doing the same things over again and expecting a different result. If you're DIYing your health, meaning trying to heal yourself through researching, trial and error, wasting a lot of money and time in the process, then you could be sabotaging your results. Would you try and fix your car if it broke and you didn't know what was wrong with it? No. So why are you trying to do it all alone when it comes to the most important thing that we have in our life, our health? Trust me, actually asking for help and investing in yourself saves you time, money, and a lot of stress in the long run. I know you're probably not getting any answers or support from your doctor. I've been there too. That's why I created my 6 month signature hormone reset package. This one-to-one coaching package offers the highest level of support and transformation as we'd be closely working together to identify and address the underlying root causes of your health issues. Even if you're already eating healthy and taking supplements, there's so much more to healing, so don't feel like you've tried it all. Let me help you figure out what's causing your stubborn symptoms and support your body in healing naturally, which, in case no one has ever told you, is completely possible. Check out my website, which is linked in the episode show notes for more information, and the links to apply or book an enrollment call are there if you want to chat further. If you've been looking for a sign, this is it. The words that we attach to experiences that we have, they become our experience. So words have a biochemical effect on the body. And the minute you use a word like devastated, it's going to produce a very different biochemical response than if you say, I'm a bit disappointed. So be aware of using these very strong words, because you could lessen the impact that it's having just by making a simple swap. I'll give you some examples now. Instead of saying how overwhelmed you are, say that you have a lot of things to handle or a lot of things on your plate right now. Instead of saying that you hate something, swap it to what you'd prefer instead. Instead of saying, I'll try, because either you do it or you don't do it, it's, I'm committed to making this happen. What if I fail? Swap that to, what if this worked out better than I could ever even imagine? So the goal is to focus with a positive reframe, and the repetition to create that new neural pathway is important. Let's speak in solutions instead of problems. When I did training in NLP in 2023, it talks about how words have feelings and certain images, and certain parts of the brain store them in different ways. For example, when you think of coffee, for some people, they automatically imagine this weak cup of coffee, they hate it, they don't like the taste, it gives them stomachache, and they have a more negative picture of it. Whereas for me, I imagine a gorgeous flat white with raw milk, and it's got this foamy milk on top, and I absolutely love it. It makes me feel good. Same thing, but two different responses, and how it's having an effect in my body versus yours. Same with the words love and fear or love and hate. There was a study done, I think it was by a Japanese researcher called Emoto. Um, you'll have to look it up. It's the water experiment and how he spoke words of positivity to one set of water and ice structures, and it created this beautiful picture and beautiful patterns in the ice versus things like I hate you, disgust and rage and anger to the others, and they created these really distorted, horrible images. The graphics are insane, so have a look and Google that. And I really want you to be mindful of the I am statement because whatever follows I am is your identity. So even just like maybe make a list of 10 things now, right? I am, and then finish the sentence for me. But some common ones are I'm broke, I'm chronically ill, I'm so sensitive, I'm an anxious person, I'm always late, I'm overweight, I'm ugly. That becomes your identity because our our body and our brain like really resonate with the I am statement. It's your sense of self. Also, from what I've learned about the mind and language, I have completely stopped self-deprecating jokes because this is just not productive in any way and it's actually quite detrimental. So now I know the power of my words. I will not do that again. I will not laugh at myself in that way because yeah, it's not great. And the way that we can use I am statements to our benefit is through positive affirmations. So we can say, I am healthy, I am healing, I am abundant, I am happy, I am successful. So use it to your advantage and it will take repetition, but the brain is going to listen. Something else important that we should try to do is separate your feelings and your symptoms and your diagnosis from yourself and your identity. Because if you use the term my anxiety, my eczema, my back pain, or you use your diagnosis or your label as part of your identity. So I'm a PCOS sufferer, I'm an endometriosis warrior, I'm a moldy, things like that, it's going to be very hard for you to heal from those conditions if you've made that your identity. Another one of my favorite Tony Robbins quotes, I may butcher it, but it's something to do with one of the greatest strengths, one of the most important strengths of the human brain is to stay consistent with the identity that we have for ourselves. So if you tell yourself you're a PCOS sufferer or you have infertility, then your brain is going to look for more evidence to back up your belief because that's what the brain does. It's finding data to support your belief. So I even had to stop doing this for myself. I for so long identified as someone who had acne or acne prone skin. And now if I have a spot, I don't have acne anymore, I have a spot. It's a big difference between the two. And I had a client I had to catch the other day on her client call. She struggles a lot with her sleep, and every day her friends and co-workers would ask how she slept because it was just this like known thing that she struggled with insomnia. And every time, obviously, she'd say, I slept so badly, I only got 2 hours last night, but that's just reinforcing the problem. I'm absolutely exhausted. Instead, you don't need to say, I slept amazingly for 8 hours if you didn't. You don't need to lie, but it could be a bridge statement and more positively focused. So I slept okay. I would love to sleep longer. I would love to sleep more. So it could have been better. You see how that is way less positively charged, negatively charged, and you're more likely to be able to sleep well if you're not telling yourself every day how much of a terrible sleeper you are. So you don't need to be perfect with this, just start to catch yourself now and choose better. No need to beat yourself up. And don't forget about other people's words too. If you're constantly listening to music, podcasts, even your friends who are saying negative things or unsupportive things, I mean, you can be annoying like me and catch them and help them change, but that is going into your subconscious too, and it's not having as much of an effect as what you're saying, but something to be mindful of. I hope you found this interesting, and I would love for you to let me know how this goes in your life. Watch how when you change the words that you use, your life changes too.